The city lights always look different after midnight. They flicker like dying embers, and the usual hustle and bustle of the streets fades into a low, distant hum. For 3 years, I worked the night shift as a security guard at the old Westwood Galleria, a sprawling, empty shopping mall that had seen better days. My job was simple: patrol the deserted corridors, check the doors, and make sure nothing was out of place. Most nights, the only company I had was the echo of my own footsteps and the hum of the emergency lights. But one Tuesday, that changed. A flicker of movement in my peripheral vision as I passed the darkened storefront of a toy shop. I stopped, turned my flashlight beam onto the glass, and saw nothing but my own reflection staring back, tired and a little spooked. "Just your eyes playing tricks on you, Mark," I muttered, shaking my head. "The silence in these places can get to you, make you see things." I continued my patrol, the rhythmic squeak of my shoes against the polished floor the only sound. The next night, it happened again. This time it was by the food court. As I swept my light across the area, I saw it just for a second. My heart hammered against my ribs. I called out, "Hello? Security? Is anyone there?" The only reply was the echo of my own voice, bouncing off the high ceilings. I drew a shaky breath, my hand hovering over my radio. I told myself it was a shadow, a trick of the light. But a knot of unease tightened in my stomach. Over the next week, the occurrences became more frequent, more bold. I'd find things moved. A mannequin in a department store window, its head turned to face the corridor as if watching me pass. A janitor's cart left in the middle of a hallway I had just cleared. Cold spots that would raise the hairs on my arms, even though the building's climate control was off for the night. I started documenting everything in my logbook, but it felt absurd. Mannequin moved on its own accord. Heard footsteps in Zone C. Found nothing. I knew my boss would think I was losing my mind. The feeling of being watched was constant, a heavy pressure on the back of my neck. It was worst on the upper level, near the old abandoned cinema. The air up there was always thick and cold. One night, as I was doing my rounds, I heard a sound from inside one of the theaters. It wasn't a creak or a groan of the old building settling. It was a soft rhythmic tapping. Tap, tap. Against my better judgment, I pushed open the heavy theater door. The beam of my flashlight cut through the darkness, landing on rows and rows of empty, dusty velvet seats. The tapping stopped. I swept the light across the room, my hand trembling. The beam landed on the stage in front of the giant torn screen, and my blood ran cold. Standing there, partially obscured by the shadows, was a figure. It was impossibly tall and slender, its limbs long and jointed at odd angles. It had no discernible features, just a smooth, pale surface where a face should be. It didn't move, it just stood there, watching me. I couldn't breathe, couldn't scream. My entire body was frozen in sheer terror. My training screamed at me to report it, to call for backup, but who would believe me? I slowly backed out of the theater, my eyes locked on the figure. As soon as I was in the hallway, I slammed the door shut and ran. I didn't stop running until I reached the security office, locking the door behind me. I sat there, heart pounding, staring at the monitor feeds, watching the empty hallways. For the rest of my shift, I didn't leave that room. I just watched the screens, half expecting to see that tall, pale figure gliding through the corridors. The next day, I handed in my resignation. I told my boss the hours were affecting my health, which wasn't a lie. I never told anyone what I really saw. Sometimes when I'm driving late at night and I pass by an old, dark building, I get that same feeling. That cold pressure on the back of my neck, the feeling of being watched. I know it sounds crazy, but I also know what I saw in the Westwood Galleria. I wasn't just patrolling an empty building. Something else was there, in the darkness, and it was watching. Thank you so much for listening to my story. It's something I've kept to myself for a long time. If you've ever had a similar unsettling experience, I'd be interested to hear about it in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this, please consider hitting that like button and subscribing for more stories from the dark corners of the world. Stay safe out there.